The story begins with a tense and chaotic atmosphere, showing city residents running frantically to escape an attack. At the same time, television stations broadcast large-scale evacuation efforts. Amid the chaos, there is a massive crater. Inside it, a man named Mark falls and becomes trapped underground. Mark suffers a serious injury to his leg. There is no one who can help him, as the city has already been emptied due to the evacuation. In that situation, Mark tries to call for help using his mobile phone. Unfortunately, several calls he makes are disrupted and immediately diverted to voicemail. Suddenly, another tremor shakes the ground. The impact makes Mark even more panicked, and he begins shouting for help once again. However, no one hears him. Mark then turns on the flashlight on his phone to examine the area around him. That is when he discovers a dark tunnel, accompanied by a mysterious sound coming from deep within it. Not knowing what else to do, Mark decides to try calling his wife again. As the voicemail recording begins, he explains the situation he is in. Mark says that earlier he was on his way to the school to pick up their 2 children. Then, without warning, the ground shook violently, causing him to fall and become trapped inside the hole. While he is still leaving the voice message, Mark hears the sound of a helicopter flying overhead. For a moment, hope rises within him, but it is quickly crushed when he sees the helicopter crash and break apart. Mark manages to free himself from the surrounding rocks before the debris collapses on him. He then rushes to hide inside the tunnel. However, misfortune strikes again. In the midst of the chaos, a sharp piece of glass pierces his abdomen. Using only a handkerchief and enduring intense pain, Mark manages to pull the shard of glass out of his body. After gathering what strength he has left, he takes a lighter from his pocket and ignites it to illuminate the area. Mark then decides to explore the tunnel, hoping to find a way out. As he moves forward, he notices blood stains along the tunnel walls. From that moment, Mark realizes that there may be someone else trapped down there just like him. Not long afterward, Mark discovers a backpack. Inside it, he finds a photograph of a young girl and several other items, including a night vision camera that he can use. Mark continues moving forward. Suddenly, he comes across a woman lying on the ground unconscious. When she regains consciousness, Mark offers his help. Her name is Kate. Mark then hands her the backpack he found, which turns out to be hers. However, another tremor shakes the ground, causing Kate to panic and run away. Realizing what is happening, Mark immediately chases after her, shouting her name. When they finally meet again, Kate, still in a state of panic, tells Mark to stay quiet and not make a sound. She explains that there is something that can hear them. As things begin to calm down, Mark offers to help stop the bleeding on Kate's leg. After finishing, Mark lets out a brief laugh, cursing the earthquake that caused him to fall into the hole. However, Mark's remark only leaves Kate feeling confused. According to her, what is happening right now is not the result of an ordinary earthquake. Kate even asks whether Mark truly did not see anything at all on the surface above. In the middle of their conversation, another violent tremor strikes, causing the entire tunnel to shake. Mark tries to ease the tension by saying that someone will surely come to rescue them. However, his words are immediately rejected by Kate. She explains that although Mark does not understand what Kate means at all, for the sake of their survival, he suggests that they keep moving and not stay in one place. As they continue their journey, it is revealed that the backpack Kate is carrying does not actually belong to her. It is believed to have been stolen from someone else. An argument breaks out when Kate shows her distrust toward Mark simply because he wants to walk in front. Suddenly, Kate pulls out a pistol and threatens to shoot him. She also demands that Mark hand over his lighter and warns him not to do anything foolish. In truth, Mark has no intention of hurting Kate at all. In the middle of their journey, they suddenly hear a strange sound coming from behind them. Quickly, Kate puts out the flame and warns Mark not to make a single sound. Not wanting to take any risks, Mark asks Kate to hand over the night vision camera from the backpack.
Yeah, let's go.
Once the situation begins to calm down, Mark says that he does not see anything suspicious. However, he is far more concerned about the tunnel's structure, which looks fragile and on the verge of collapse. As they continue moving forward, Kate reveals that her brother, Joe, is likely searching for her. Because of that, they must get out of that place as soon as possible, no matter what happens. However, when they stop briefly to rest, they are once again startled by something appearing behind them. With great difficulty, they manage to escape by entering a different passage. Mark then takes advantage of the moment to see what is chasing them using the night vision camera. At that point, Mark finally realizes that there truly is a creature living underground. As they try to calm themselves, Kate realizes that she has dropped her medication not far behind them. Mark warns her that they cannot go back because it is far too dangerous. Even so, Kate pulls out her pistol and forces him to return to retrieve the medicine. Reluctantly, Mark complies. He goes back to the previous area and manages to find Kate's medication. After that, having grown tired of Kate's irrational behavior, Mark throws the medicine toward her. He then sits beside Kate and asks about the creature they saw earlier. In response to Mark's question, Kate is unable to provide much information. However, as far as she knows, those creatures are responsible for the death of her younger sister. Kate then begins to tell her story. At the time, she had caught her younger sister skipping school and decided to take her home. However, in the middle of the drive, as they started arguing, a creature suddenly appeared and crashed into their car. When Kate regained consciousness, she saw her younger sister being dragged out of the vehicle. In a state of panic, Kate could do nothing but run to save herself. After hearing her story, the two of them continue moving forward in search of a way out. As they walk, Mark asks, "How did you end up here?" Kate explains that as she was running away from the creatures, the ground began to shake violently, causing her to fall. All she knows is that the monsters are enormous in size, but she has no idea how such creatures could exist on Earth. From there, they enter a much narrower passage. In that confined space, a new problem arises when their lighter suddenly goes out, leaving them trapped in complete darkness. Relying on the night vision camera, they continue moving forward. Mark refuses to hand over his mobile phone because he needs to conserve the battery in case it is truly needed later. He does not want to risk their only chance of getting out of that place. At that moment, it is revealed that Mark is in the middle of a divorce with his wife. The confession leaves Kate speechless. She never imagined that Mark, who appears so ordinary, is carrying such a painful personal story. A short while later, Mark and Kate see a bright light at the end of the tunnel. They believe they have reached the surface. However, as they move closer to the source of the light, Kate begins to look increasingly anxious and frightened. Mark tries to calm her down. Mark realizes that even if they have not found an exit yet, at least they have discovered an additional source of light. As he picks up the flashlight and begins illuminating the path, they unexpectedly come across the body of a dead man. After confirming that the man is no longer alive, Kate searches through his belongings and finds a knife, some cash, and a bottle of alcohol. The alcohol is then used by Mark to pour over the wound in his abdomen. From there, they continue along the narrow tunnel. However, after only a few steps, the man they thought was dead suddenly grabs Mark's leg. The commotion draws the attention of the creature they encountered earlier. The creature begins moving toward them. Quickly, Mark and Kate run away, leaving the man behind. In the chaos, their camera falls to the ground. From the camera's perspective, it becomes clear how the monster devours the unfortunate man. After retrieving the camera, Mark and Kate continue their journey. In the midst of their struggle to survive, Kate suddenly starts coughing violently. Seeing her condition, Mark forces her to take a short rest. However, Kate refuses, explaining that she does not want her position at the front to be taken over. Hearing this, Mark becomes furious. He realizes that all this time, Kate has been forcing him to stay behind, using him as bait. Having no other choice left, Mark finally releases his anger. He declares that he will not die in that place. Pointing the knife toward Kate, Mark begins to attack her. Just as Mark is about to kill Kate, a sudden sound echoes through the tunnel, causing both of them to freeze. In that critical moment, Mark, now caught, tells Kate to shoot him. But overwhelmed by fear, Kate is unable to pull the trigger of her gun. Believing that Mark is dead, Kate moves quickly. However, after taking only a few steps, she suddenly senses something approaching her. When she turns around, Kate is shocked to see Mark standing there, alive against all odds. Mark explains that he managed to kill the creature using the knife still clenched in his hand. Kate feels deeply guilty for having done nothing. She apologizes, but Mark does not respond. He simply tells her that they need to keep moving. Long story short, as exhaustion begins to take over their bodies, Mark and Kate decide to rest for a moment. During that time, they are finally able to quench their thirst after finding a pool of water. Kate then praises Mark as a brave man for being able to kill the creature using only a knife. However, the compliment only makes Mark feel sad. He confesses that his children have never seen him as a brave father. Mark then tells her about an incident that happened 6 months earlier when his house caught fire. At that time, his wife managed to save their daughter. Meanwhile, Mark, who intended to save their son, was too afraid to enter the bedroom because the flames were already too intense. Fortunately, firefighters arrived in time and successfully rescued his son. However, since that incident, Mark has felt unable to return home and find the courage to apologize to his family. After that, the two of them continue sharing stories. Kate also talks about her own family. Eventually, Kate realizes that they must keep moving. Not long after, they discover that the path they are following is a dead end.
What do we do?
With no way to turn back, Kate, feeling hopeless and unsure of what to do, begins kicking the rocks blocking their way. Seeing this, Mark joins in to help. Unexpectedly, their combined efforts manage to break through the blocking wall, opening a path into an underground drainage system.
Sounds good. Hey, reach it.
With great difficulty, they try to pry open the metal grates leading to the surface. Unfortunately, the grates cannot be opened. While they search for something to force them open, the sound of gunfire echoes from above. They immediately take advantage of the moment and shout for help. Their cries are heard by a soldier who intends to rescue Mark and Kate. However, bad luck strikes once again. Before the soldiers can take action,
Thank you.
Give me the med kit and the wig.
She's gonna be back. She's gonna be back.
Don't worry, everything's gonna be okay.
Kate is utterly shocked by what she has just seen. As the situation grows increasingly dangerous, Mark tells Kate to go back down into the hole. Kate refuses. In the end, Mark chooses to use a smaller water drainage passage instead. From there, they slip inside and discover an area that is completely flooded. Mark then decides to dive in order to search for a way out. On his first attempt, he fails to find it. However, on his second attempt, Mark successfully discovers the exit. Quickly, Mark tells Kate to get ready. He explains that once Kate reaches the other side, she must turn on her flashlight as a signal so that Mark can locate the way out.
So I know you made it.
During the process, Mark becomes disoriented and loses track of Kate. But just as Mark is about to run out of air, Kate manages to find him and pull him out of the water. After that, the two of them continue their journey, moving through another tunnel filled with sources of light. However, just as they begin to crawl forward, the place suddenly starts to shake again. The tremor is followed by the appearance of a creature standing directly in front of them. disappears into a hole after hearing someone scream in the distance. Once things calm down slightly, the two slowly begin moving again. Kate successfully jumps across a large hole blocking their path. Mark then attempts to do the same and manages to make it across. However, once he reaches the other side, Mark is confronted with a heartbreaking reality. Kate has died from the severe injuries she suffered. Even worse, her body is now blocking the only possible way out. In the midst of the danger, with thousands of creatures that could pass through the area at any moment, Mark takes all of Kate's belongings, including the pistol, the bottle of alcohol, and the lighter. Overwhelmed by despair, Mark turns on his mobile phone. He watches an old video showing himself playing with his children. Feeling that he has lost all hope, Mark decides to end his life. However, as he is about to pull the trigger, he realizes that the gun is not loaded. Upon discovering this, Mark becomes furious. He feels that he has been deceived all along, realizing that Kate never had any bullets in her gun. Amid his anger and despair, a glimmer of hope finally appears. Mark receives a message from his wife. In the message, she asks him to come home and stop blaming himself. She tells him that she and the children are taking shelter in the basement and that they desperately need the presence of a father. The message ignites new hope within Mark. He decides to keep fighting and make one final attempt to escape. Mark uses the alarm on his mobile phone to draw the attention of the creatures, attaching the phone to Kate's leg to act as a distraction. In this way, Mark finally manages to pass through the dangerous path and escape from the tunnel. However, once he reaches the surface, Mark realizes something truly terrifying. The situation outside is far worse than he ever imagined.